What's up, everybody? It's Brody Frye. Thanks for tuning in. Today, this extra bonus episode, just kind of wanted to throw on the mic. Not sure exactly what I'm going to be talking about, but my mind's kind of working some gears. So I just felt like turning the mic on and let's see what happens. Stay tuned. Hey everyone, it's Brody Frye. And here, we dive deep into difficult questions. We'll map out thoughts, theories, and crazy ideas for the love of knowledge and growth. So, how do we answer some of the mind's toughest questions? This is the Mind Hiking Podcast. All right, guys, let's get into this. So, today, I got this crazy active mind. It just doesn't shut off. Katie talks to me all the time about this, and like sometimes she looks at me and just says how she wishes that she could just get inside my head and just see my thoughts, and I always have to assure her that she does not want to be in here. There's a lot going on, and just never ending, it never shuts off. It's a crazy place. A lot of this podcast is me kind of trying to open up about that a little more. So one of the struggles that I've had personally is just opening up and like processing my thoughts out loud. I tend to stay silent. I tend to keep my thoughts to myself. I tend to process things internally and not really verbalize my thoughts. And this podcast is definitely a huge exercise for me to be able to kind of put my thoughts into words, because a lot of the ideas and stuff that I have, I can't really explain it as clear as it is in my head. And a lot of times I can't even, like, I used to love to draw, but like, sometimes I can't even draw my ideas the way that I can see them in my mind. So I heard a question today that kind of sparked this episode. Not sure where we're going with this, but the question was just, what keeps you up at night? And what keeps me up at night is there's not really a clear answer here, but it kind of makes me chuckle a little because there's just so many things. But severe insomnia from the time I was very young. I've always struggled with getting enough sleep. I stay up. So it's ironic because I always go to bed super early. I've never been like a night owl. I've always much preferred morning. Like I can get up super early, no problem, and be just as chipper and cheerful as ever. And the nighttime, I start getting like irritated and irritable and grumpy after like 9:30, 10 o'clock, and I'm like ready to go to bed. And it's just funny because like I'm irritable, and then when I get into bed, I'm just laying there staring at the ceiling or just tossing and turning. And I remember growing up, actually, like when I was a little kid, like 4, 5, 6 years old, and like I'd have nightmares and stuff. And I used to like obviously spend nights in my parents' bed with them. And I remember my dad used to just, like, we'd set up blankets next to the bed that I would have to lay on. My dad would kick me out of the bed because I'd flop around too much. I'd roll over and I just kept him up. I would just move around too much, even as such a young child. And I do remember another story where as a baby, like at this age, I don't even, like somewhere around the 3 years old mark or younger maybe, I had a babysitter, and I was in my bed or crib or whatever it was, and the babysitter put me down for the nap, and I would bang my head against the pillow, lay on my stomach or like with my forearms down and bang, repeatedly bang and smash my head into the pillow. And my babysitter like thought something was wrong, like I was spazzing out or something. And they called my parents, and my parents were like, "Nope, don't worry. That's just what he does. Uh, he'll fall asleep sooner or later." I would bang my head into the pillow repeatedly over and over and over and over just to fall asleep as a young child. So sleep has always been a struggle for me, and my mind has always been a struggle for me. Just trying to like, I feel like it's like a beast that I have to tame. And I now, I mean, falling asleep is still obviously a struggle, but when I fall asleep, it's like clockwork. I always wake up in the middle of the night. It's always like 2:30, 3 in the morning, same time every night I'm up, and a lot of times I can't pinpoint a specific reason. Like I'm just up, and I'll wake up and roll over and try to find a comfortable position, and occasionally I'll fall back asleep and get through the night. But like if I have to get up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, if I sit up, I'm up the rest of the night. Like I might as well just start making breakfast at 2:33 in the morning, because if I have to get up and go to the bathroom, I'm awake. My mind is awake. This mind of mine has just been, you know, it's like almost haunting. There's just so much happening inside, and I guess like I have this big struggle, or this bit. I've made a lot of choices in my life that looking back on, I don't know if I should have. And I know everybody's got regrets and stuff, and I don't know if I necessarily, I haven't played out enough of this life to be able to, say if I think it's a regret or not. But I got these choices that I've made that I don't know if they necessarily benefited me or not. I worry that I could have made a better decision, or what I guess what I'm trying to say is one of my biggest fears, something that I constantly struggle with, something that I constantly battle in my head is, am I living up to my potential? I fear that when I die, I didn't reach my full potential. I fear that I was capable of more. I fear that I could have contributed more to society. I feel like I could have helped more human beings. I feel like there was something else that I should have done or could have done, or like a path that I didn't take that I should have taken that I didn't, that held me back, or not even that I held like maybe I'm holding myself back. Like what am I not doing that I should be doing in this moment? It's this constant like internal dialogue of what should I be doing to maximize my growth and contribution to this world while I'm still here. Like I feel like I have all this information and knowledge and just thoughts and ideas. Like I got all these thoughts, but I struggle to portray them. I struggle to get them out. And am I doing enough while I'm alive? And that, I don't know. All I know is I think about that a lot, and I'm trying my best. I feel like not many people think this way as well. I think that I kind of think a little bit differently than most people. especially people that are in some sort of a power position or have some sort of authority, because I've never really agreed with or thought like the masses. So, one kind of example or a way to think about this would be when I was young and I was racing, you know, it really like helped stimulate my mind. I think growing up and learning how to race when I was 3 years old, operating a motorcycle at such a young age, it is just like a lot of stimulation on such a young mind. And I think that really helped me learn and grow and process at such a young age, because especially competitive racing, it's one thing to just learn how to ride a bike that young, but competitive racing, when you're trying to be the best and you're getting pressured from your parents, and we were racing, I mean, it was every single weekend, and not to pat myself on the back, but I was really good. I grew up with my dad. Um, he is so smart, and he's an incredible man. And he owned a world class race shop, and there was years at Redbud, Michigan, where we had the biggest professional team on the line. I mean, it was amazing. It was a great experience, but that was also a lot of pressure being his son and pushing myself. You know, it was a lot of weight to carry, and there was a lot of stress with every race, and it's not just twisting the throttle. It's the most physically demanding sport there is, and your especially mental capability, because you're moving at such a fast speed where things are whizzing by you. So like, not only do you have to make line choices, you have to calculate in your head what the best option is when you're trying to pass the person in front of you and also hold back the guy behind you and dodge rocks that are getting kicked up in front of you, and pick lines that are the best and the smoothest, or because you can go down easy, you can get cross-rutted, and not only just picking calculated lines, but picking them at instant speeds. Like, I learned at such a young age to calculate and make split-second decisions instantly. Like, that was a skill you needed to have. You had to have that to be the best. And that's kind of that pressure with those kind of decisions is kind of what stimulated my mind and kind of grew it to what it is now. So, I'm not good at, I love reading, but I'm not a fast reader. I actually read really slow. And that's one of the reasons why I actually love audiobooks too, because I process the information much better listening to it like that than I do sitting down. I do love sitting down and reading a good book. The audiobooks, I just seem to soak that in a little bit better. But I'm not a fast reader. And I'm good with math, but I'm not fast at it. Like, if you give me enough time, if I'm not being timed or I'm not under pressure, I can get an accurate number. I can do whatever calculations need to be done. I'm good at it, but I'm not fast at it. So, like, on paper, you wouldn't think like my brain was special in any way. And that's why it's kind of tough the way we word things and the way this society kind of portrays things on paper. It's tough to, like, I don't really seem any more special than anybody else. But where I've really noticed that I stand out, and this is just being stuck in myself for so long. Just being stuck in this brain for so long, over time I've noticed that I think different than most people. I can see things that most people can't see. When I was racing, I can visualize the motor itself turning. I knew what was happening in the bike. I could picture the cable being pulled while I was pulling the brake lever or the clutch in, and I could just imagine the trans, and I can imagine the motor turning, the piston firing, the spark plug sparking, and the fuel injecting into the cylinder, and I can just picture the shocks moving, and I was just such a visual learner, and I could just see, not that I was a visual learner, it was more of that I could picture motion. I could picture everything that was happening in my bike while I was riding it, as if I was one with it. Like I knew, like I could see my bike happening as I was riding it. And that carries over to today. Like if I try to explain an idea, I can see it clearly in my head and how it moves or whatever, like whatever the idea is, I can picture these things. And I I just repeatedly over and over find myself thinking of an idea, and then years go by, and then sure enough it pops up, and or other scenarios where like some crazy technology is being worked on that I've already thought of that I didn't even know existed before. Or it's just like, I just notice things like that where I'm able to just picture it. It's just so tough to explain. And this is kind of where I struggle with this, and it's just so much easier just to keep to myself and just know that I know what I'm talking about, kind of thing. Like I can just take things apart and put them back together, and just not that I have a photographic memory or anything, but it's just easy for me to understand how things fit together and how things move together. And not just like that, but that applies in day-to-day life too, where like my spatial awareness is, comparing to other people is amazing. 25 years old, I've never had an accident before. I've never even had a moving violation ticket. And it's just, I don't know really how to explain it, but I know I love working with my hands, and I love tinkering. I love working on stuff. I love taking things apart. I love putting things together. I love building things. I know school wasn't for me. I know I wanted to get out of there as fast as I could, and I did. I graduated a semester early, and I was on work program for junior and senior year, so I was getting out after half a day junior year, and then I took four hours in the morning senior year and graduated halfway through that year. So yeah, it was literally just like basically a quarter of my senior year I took, because it was half days for a semester was it. But I got out of there. I always felt school was holding me back. Got out of school, and with that fear, I always told myself school was holding me back. I could do so much more. And that's one of the battles that I struggle with is, am I doing enough on my own, or do I need some more help? Should I have went to college? Because I didn't go to college. I don't know. I don't know what the right answer was, but I know I wasn't retaining knowledge like the rest of the kids. I was like a B, C student. Occasionally in the courses, like in high school, once I could pick my own classes, like small engines and woods and stuff like that, it was A's, because I that was interesting to me. But like Woods class, I was the only student in Woods 3. They had to combine Woods 2 and 3 because I was the only one in there, and it was basically me showing the rest of the students how to use the saws, and I just kind of built my own things. And I'm going to try my best to try to bring this full circle. I don't really want to just sit here and talk about myself, but I'd rather listen than talk about myself. I struggle with getting words out and talking about myself, but it's much easier for me to sit in silence. I'm totally fine sitting in silence, and there's enough entertainment going on in my mind. There's enough pictures and images in my head to keep me entertained. So I'm totally fine sitting in silence and just processing things and thoughts that go on in my head. So it's not that I want to talk about myself. I'm kind of forcing this out right now, but I feel like I was saying earlier, a lot of people in authority or power positions don't necessarily think or process things the way that I do, and some of the views that I have don't really line up with the rest of society, because I feel like most people just kind of go about their days like ants ants marching. But it's just society just kind of is a bunch of gears turning and cogs in the system, I've said before. And I just feel like if we all could come together and just come to a realization of the fragility of life and how short it is, and that we're all going to die, and what are we doing? There is this thought that I have, and this isn't something I've really pondered a long time. It's kind of more of a recent thing, and recent as in like the last year or so. I've been kind of on and off it. But I don't know how I want to start this. There's a couple approaches that I kind of tossing back and forth, but I guess, there's no really good way to start this, but basically simulation theory, I haven't entertained much. I haven't given it really any weight until like this recently. It's just kind of like, in the background. I haven't really thought much of it. And I especially don't want to, one, start this now, and two, attempt it alone. This, I guess I just kind of want to, for those who haven't heard this, introduce you a little bit, and for those who are interested in this, maybe spark some more interest and maybe continue this in another episode with somebody else. But basically, and it's interesting, like through generations, how this changes, because it's not like this simulation theory, like it's not like it's new, because it's not at all. It's actually very old, because right now it just changes with like the times. Like right now it's simulation theory because what do we have? Computers. We all have computers in our pockets. So it's like simulation theory is like, and like with how video games are going nowadays, yeah, it's just easy to call it simulation theory. But, before computers, in like the 90s, 70s, even whatever it was, they were calling it like the brain in a vat theory. Because that's like what they had, your brain just sitting in a vat or a jar filled with whatever fluid hooked up to a machine with electrical pulses. For all you know, your brain's just sitting in a vat and they're just sending pulses to your brain, and your brain is processing it as you're sitting here listening to this podcast right now, doing whatever you're doing, driving or working or whatever. So And what's funny, because like that's not the first, hearings of this type of theory as well, because that kind of stopped in like 2008 or so. It kind of morphed into like the simulation theory, kind of to catch up with the times. But before the brain in the vat theory, like the earliest was like mid 1600s. There's this book that audio book that I listened to, Meditations on First Philosophy. And I think the guy's name was Rene Descartes, something like that. It's a heavy book. It's tough to, because it's written in the 1600s, so early mid 1600s. So it's a tough listen, but sometimes I kind of like stuff like that. It keeps my brain kind of stimulated, gives me something to think about. But he kind of talks about this in a different way, where it just, the way he presented this theory was, and again, to keep up with the times, because it was like, what did you have back then? You had no computers or anything, no technology. It was just like religion. So he talks about a demon with utmost power and cunning, and that it uses all of its energy to deceive him, that it can kind of like alter logic and change your perception. Like a demon is just altering your reality. And that's kind of what he talks about in that. And that's like the earliest writings of this. That is simulation theory. So it's just crazy that this isn't old. This is something that humans have been talking about for a long time. And for, the way I didn't even want to entertain this idea. I thought it was crazy when I first heard it. But, once somebody kind of planted that in my mind, and it just kind of sits there and, stews in this like crock pot of my mind, I've kind of come to some thoughts on it, not conclusions, because I'm constantly willing to hear perspectives and grow and learn. But some of what I think is we are on this growth line. So like you could say this in any way. If we are evolving, that is for sure. Like you can see how technology is like exponentially growing. That you can't argue. With that said, we will get to a point. Think about video games. From the earliest video games till now video games. I mean, with virtual reality. That is also growth. That is exponential growth. With that growth, for certain, we will get to a point where virtual reality or video games or whatever will become indistinguishable from reality. And there could be multiple of those. There could be different video games. There could be different virtual realities. Just, like how many video games are there out there? Everybody could be playing a different video game. And another thing to think about is, has this happened before? What if we're not baseline? What if we're not this baseline reality? What if we are already in this simulation? And this is kind of the thought process that really intrigued me, really. What if species kind of already got to this first, and that's what we are. We've kind of uploaded ourselves into this virtual reality, and we're already in it. Because there has to be a baseline. There has to be a starting point, somebody that did it first. And another thing to think about is, why would somebody do that? And it would just be to, most likely entertainment, because we kind of have this starving for growth, this starving for new, better. It's got to be better, right? That's why there's new systems coming out all the time. That's why you have a new phone in your pocket. You're always things have to get better. You're always the next new thing, updated, whatever. We're always striving for this growth or getting better or improving. That's including entertainment as well. So entertainment has to be better or more stimulating than reality. So, if we're not the baseline reality, what is baseline reality? How many, levels deep are we? Because if we're still, who knows how this simulation is even coded, or if we haven't done it yet, and if we do, or when we do, how we're going to code it. Can we do the same process over and over again? Or like, is this a game and we're just, if it's a game, say we're not baseline reality, say this is just a simulation. What's the point of it? Is the point to, here's a thought. Here's a thought that I've had on this. We're sitting here just arguing and bickering and just, what if the whole world's supposed to just get along and work together? And it's easy to sit here and be like, all right, Brody, quit your preaching. Like, the world's never going to get along. But think about it. We're all just sitting here on this planet that's gonna get consumed by the sun. The sun's gonna boil our oceans at some point, or supernova us, and we're gonna be gone forever. And what does the simulation restart? If we're not baseline, does the simulation restart or what? I think a really strong theory is that the point of this simulation is to get the fuck off this rock. We're just sitting here bickering about politics or whatever. We're bickering about religion. We're just fighting about everything. Like, every idea and thought, somebody has a counter to. Somebody's offended by. We're just picking on each other. When just everybody just stop bickering. Just stop your fighting. We're just sitting here fighting over just bullshit. Quit fighting. Let's just fucking build rockets. Like, if we all just came together, we could get off this planet. We're stuck. It's like a prison planet. Like, what if the point of this whole thing is to just get off? You become a multi-planet species. Like, what if we focused all of our energy on that? Just escaping this prison. Like, doesn't this, worry anybody else? That we're stuck, we're just confined here because we're confined here and we're just fighting each other. We're just throwing sticks and rocks at each other still to this day, except now they just blow up and create explosions and stuff. It's just, let's work together and get out of here. Like, there's so much out there we could explore. Doesn't anybody else want to get out there? Doesn't anybody else want to get off this rock? I know it's not as easy as that, but it's just fun to think about that. There's obviously stuff here that we need to take care of. You have to go through your day in and day out, day-to-day life, but I really think we do get too wrapped up in it. I think there's a bigger picture that majority of people forget about. It's just larger thoughts like that are constantly churning in my head. My mind is so stuffed full of just crazy things like that, like bigger picture, bigger question thoughts like that. Here's a snapshot. I got stuff like that, big questions, big pictures, and then I got ideas on how to build an Iron Man suit or how to build bulletproof vests or armor. Like, my mind, real theories too, that I got stuff picked out that I could start assembling, but I just don't. My mind is just a jumbled mess. I got so many projects just, tab here, tab there. Like I just got tabs everywhere, and it's just a jumbled mess of files in my mind. But yeah, it's a crazy world we're living in. I mean, I think there's less restrictions than what we think there is. I think there's going to be a click. I think there's going to be a thought or an idea that, it's like, why didn't we think of this sooner? It's not that difficult. Something's going to happen where it's going to be like, holy shit, space travel's easy. Like we can fly through this or that. Like and yes, especially after listening to this episode, you can bet your ass I have ideas for that. But yeah, something's going to happen, and we'll be able to get out of here. This is just such a huge can to open up. Again, just kind of tip of the iceberg here. So, I'm starting to gather enough listeners at this point that, if somebody wants to reach out to me, please do. Somebody that's knowledgeable on this topic, or even I feel like every single individual person has something to contribute. It's not, we're all human beings and we all have individual experiences and knowledge to contribute. And there's just too many groups, large groups and like government and just people that are holding control, that are like holding gateways. Like everybody has their own take, their own, could you imagine if we could just like work as a network, just bouncing ideas off each other and just grow together? Everybody has something to contribute. Everybody has an idea. Infinite ideas. We all have ideas. And there's just too many gateways that just like the way things are set up is just to prevent growth. Like so many people buy into a certain idea and then it's just a fixed idea. It's a gateway that we can't break through because enough people bought it, so please, if you guys are interested in this episode, reach out to me if you want to do an episode, and that would be awesome. I would love to talk about this topic, especially if you have more knowledge than me about the topic, and or your own take on it too. So that'd be a lot of fun. This is a bonus episode, and I kind of went a little long here, but hopefully you guys enjoy this, and hopefully I'm opening a can of worms here that'll be a lot of fun in the future. So let me know, and we can do a full length episode together. That'd be awesome. Just reach out to me at themindhikingpodcast@gmail.com, or you can reach out to me on Instagram, Brody_Frye_63. That would be a lot of fun, and I look forward to that too. Thanks for tuning in, guys. This is a wild one, so hopefully you enjoyed this, and rock on, guys. Thanks for tuning in.